Hey, this is Andrea.
And this is Amanda.
And you're listening to
Girls Nerd Out. Hey everyone that has returned, and welcome to anyone new. I'm Amanda, and this is my best friend Andrea.
Hello.
And we are very excited to talk to you about the Rings of Power Season 2 finale, Episode 8, called Shadow and Flame.
I really loved that title because it makes sense. There's a lot of mention of light and dark too in this episode. A lot of the episodes actually, but this one specifically. So I think that's interesting.
I think Shadow and Flame is pretty much that's like an allegory for the entire episode. And I really like that. Right off the bat, we are with the dwarves. We see Durin and Deeza. And I'm sorry, but this line, no matter what you hear, do not follow me down that mine. Like that just grabbed my heart.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Well, and the way he looks at her before anything, it's like it's like his worry for her is all written all over his face.
Yeah, tell everybody what he's about to do and why he says that.
Well, so his dad, the king, is still digging, still trying to dig. He killed a bunch of people last episode. I don't know how many dwarves he killed or harmed, but it seems like it was a lot.
Yep.
And he is down there banging on the walls, basically. Trying to get through.
He's got something that he's using as a damn battering ram. Did you see that?
Yes.
I'm like, dude, okay, sure.
I think I wrote, this is a cautionary tale of greed.
Hell yeah, it is. So Prince Durin is looking at his dad, trying to get him not to do what he's doing. And Durin says, like, take the ring off. And then he threatens his father out of desperation. He's like, I'll take the hand off that has the ring on. And he's Prince Durin is really smart and kind. And I don't think he gets enough credit because he tries to, like, get his dad's attention that way. And then that doesn't work. So he immediately starts telling a story about when he was a kid to try to get to that real part of his father, not the ring, but whatever's left. And I thought that was really cool. I really like that.
He also tries to mention that he's like stronger than him and stuff, and I loved that.
Oh man. Okay, so Durin tells a story of it was arm wrestling with his dad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he was talking about how strong his dad was and that his dad would kind of like pull back and let Durin kind of win for a minute, and then his dad would win. And then, oh my gosh. So then he like pushes through, he gets through, there's an opening, and that's all Mithril, right? That we saw?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. It looked like it. It was very pretty large cave, too.
Yeah, it's massive. Massive cave.
He says it's the, behold, the dynasty of Durin.
Yes, that's right. He does say that. He says the dynasty of Durin. And I was like, is it? Yeah, but not what you think. It's got to be Mithril because it's that silver color and so shiny, you're right.
And I feel like Durin, Prince Durin was in awe of it, but his dad says, but to see our mountain the way I do, you have to wear a ring. And I'm like, no, you don't. And I like how Durin's like, well, you said it's not our mountain. That's what you taught me. And with these rings, it could be. And I'm like, no,
because it goes so much deeper than anyone even knows.
Yeah.
And obviously we get a Balrog.
He was beautiful.
Very well done. Looks almost exactly like the one in the trilogy too. Even had like the fire whip. And he's scary.
What was a weapon? What was that? It looked like a pitchfork kind of weapon that he had.
Yeah, he had the fire whip we've seen before, and the other one, it kind of reminded me of those things that people use to like climb. I don't know exactly what it was, but he used it to like dig in and get back up. I know that.
But I like when he pulled it out, it sounded like he had it sheathed to him. That was really cool.
And that gives you a whole nother, like, before we thought of the Balrog as just like this evil thing. But like, if he has like a sheathed weapon, then that just makes me wonder things like, could you talk to a Balrog?
I wonder if you could. I wonder if you could just be like, hey, let's not do this right now.
I mean, I don't know, possibly. But God, do you know how pissed people would be if a Balrog talked?
Oh,
Jesus.
they'd be really mad.
So Balrog bad, big, scary, and then
Caused a
his
lot of damage.
dad. Oh yeah, dude, this just. Ugh. His dad turns to him and says, "I never let you lift your hand. It was you, just you, getting stronger." Oh.
Yeah, and he takes off the ring, which I'm like, oh, now you take off the ring. Okay, thank you.
Because he knows he's about to die. And it does make you wonder, you know, how in a previous episode, Galadriel does the same thing. She takes off Nenya and gives it to Elrond. And he's like, no, she's not saving us. She's saving the ring. Well, then that makes you wonder about King Durin. He made sure that the ring didn't perish, but he
Yeah,
loved his son. He did.
but yeah, he loved his son, and he does say forgive me, and he also calls him King Durin. So
Yeah. Why do you think he turned and fought the Balrog? Do you think he realized all the things he had done and that he was like irredeemable?
yeah, or he just I think so. Either that, or he just didn't want anything to happen to his son.
Yeah, but it's like one dwarf against a Balrog. It just made me wonder, but he
True.
probably realized that he's not the same person because of the ring, and he's just like, all right, I'll do the best I can. It was sad.
Oh yeah, I teared up because I mean, I felt like it was interesting character development, but he's still like his mind is still gone from the ring, so it's like weird that he did that. But I still felt like it was good character development.
It was, but you're right. Like, I guess we're to believe that the story brought him back. The story of Prince Durin's childhood.
That makes
So
sense.
we'll just go with that. Okay, so next scene, we have the Dark Wizard and Gandalf.
Yep.
And the first thing he says is, Manwë promised you would come.
Mm-hmm.
So right off the bat, he's acting like he's nice, which is not what we've seen previously. He's obviously trying to appeal to Gandalf. This is why I think it's Saruman. Because he knows Gandalf is inherently good. That's what Saruman knows. The two blue wizards that every rude Tolkien dude is obsessed with, they were a pair. They came first. And this is Saruman because he says, 5 of us there were. But you were the one who convinced me to leave the uttermost west for this world. Because you knew none of us could ever hope to defeat Sauron alone.
Yep.
That's Saruman.
Oh yeah.
Then he basically tells him everything that you're looking for, I can give to you.
If you
Follow
join
me. Yeah, you gotta join him though. You gotta pay the toll and follow me. You'll get your past, your name, and your staff. And it's obvious that he's just trying to manipulate. If the Dark Wizard had tried to manipulate Gandalf earlier, it might have worked. But this Gandalf has principles, and he
Mm-hmm.
figures it out. Easterlings show up,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when Brank, who's like the leader, says, my people were once kings, wizard. So that's just a huge Nazgul reference right there. I don't know how many of them will be, but probably more than one.
Yeah, I like how the Dark Wizard's just like, I was foolish to place trust in such low company because he supposedly instructed them not to hurt Poppy and Nori. But they're like, but Brank is his name, I think. He says they
Yeah.
won't be once you have given us all that we're promised. And I'm like, well, that seems fair. But like the fact that he's like, you're low lives, and there's so many. Well, there's a couple scenes where somebody says low men, and it kind of drives me nuts.
Yep. Low man. It's mentioned more than once. And this is the first time we've really heard that.
Yeah.
He basically realizes that Gandalf's not going to turn. And so he says pity will not defeat Sauron.
Kind of does.
And, yeah. And like, and Saruman tells Gandalf, we will both be his successors, as in Sauron's successors. And that's when Gandalf's like, oh, okay, I know what you are. Yeah. Cause you're not saying defeat and it'll be peace. You're saying we'll take over. Yeah. You're dark as shit, basically.
I said I'd rather be nameless too and forgotten, to be honest, because that's what Gandalf said.
Yeah. I'd rather be nameless and forgotten, like the Blue Wizards, than
And then, of
hang
course,
out with you.
Well, and then of course, Saruman gets angry and destroys the Stewart's home, which I was really sad. I cried over that because I was like, really? That's their home.
Yep. And I thought that was going to end up being the Shire, so I guess not. That's really sad.
Could still possibly be, but maybe not. I like how he says, I only hope losing those you love most gives you the taste of suffering all Middle Earth will know. And I'm like, you're really trying to manipulate him and it's not working.
Well, you know how Tom Bombadil told Gandalf that he was worried that the Dark Wizard would align with Sauron? I think the only reason that he hasn't already is because he was waiting to see if he could convince Gandalf to join him.
And it's not going to happen, so
nope.
That'll be interesting.
But he did give that weird statement of, when your senses have returned, I will be waiting. So he's not given up on it. So either he thinks when he gets his memories back that he will come to him and remember that they were once friends, or he'll come to fight him, I guess.
Well, I don't think this is the last time we'll see of him, to be honest.
No, next season, which is in 2 years, Gandalf will get his memories back and he'll go confront the Dark Wizard, but we gotta wait some time for that.
Numenor.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you want to talk about the next one?
This whole scene made me so sad. I was like, I can't believe they do. I mean, I can believe it, but I can't. So they gather the leaders of the faithful, and I really can't stand Eregion. I know, like, eventually she tries to save her dad, but I'm like, what about all these innocent people? So basically, the king, which is Pharazôn, he says that Muriel apparently has an ally with cunning powers. She bewitched the sea, they believe, even though this was their idea to do the sea thing. And I'm like, the priest that we've seen in previous episodes, he says, no, the Valar is her ally. And basically they get like this letter, which I wish we could have seen exactly what it says 100%. We didn't. But it basically states that her ally is Sauron, which I think is funny because she hasn't had that Palantir this whole time until, now we've seen visions of Sauron. I don't think she did. So, I just think it's funny. They say this, also called faithful, so-called, are now declared traitors of Westerness. All loyal Numenorians are called upon to oppose these traitors. And I'm like, so what are you doing? They're going to kick down the doors. They're dragging people out of their homes. They're destroying things. And I'm like, do you have room for all these people that you're taking? Like, there's so many people that they take out of their homes and drag out of there.
Yeah, it was giving history. It was giving Spanish Inquisition. It was giving, like, anytime there's been, two religions fighting or two parts, it's giving Protestant versus Catholic, which I'm sure that's what it's supposed to give. But look, the reason that y'all listen to us is because we're funny, we're entertaining, but we also tell you the truth. We really liked this episode, but Andrea was on the phone with me earlier and made a very valid point. This should have been 2 episodes. There's obvious cutscenes that Andrea noticed that she'll point out, and things that don't quite add up. And she is right. This should have been a 2-part. There's just no other way to see it. It was just a lot. And the fact that they had to scrap some of it to fit, just a little over an hour, it would have been better if they would have just spread it out over 2. It is what it is.
I still want to know exactly what I guess it's just what this guy is saying. All so-called faithful are now declared traitors. So I guess it's like just letting the town know that they're going to be taken, but not everybody is able to read that. They just start dragging people out of their homes. So it's just, it was very sad. And then, like I said, Arian tries to tell her dad, and then like he doesn't want to listen to her, but he hides while she tells like a soldier, like, hey, no faithful are in here. And then he gets away and goes to see the queen.
Yeah, just like you pointed out before, her dad, Ned Stark vibes, and she, to me, is specifically Sansa when she's, signing the stuff for Cersei and calling her dad a traitor. It's like if you took that Sansa and she never got better, that's her. That's Earring. And I'm just going to call her Earring because I don't care to remember her real name. She's so annoying.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of her, but I like that Elendil. I knew Elendil was going to go to the Queen Muriel right away because he loves her. He tries to get her out, but just like with Celebrimbor, her place is there. She doesn't want to leave. And she gives him the most beautiful sword in the entire show, I think, which is the Narsil.
Yeah, we see Narsil, and I do think a lot of people were excited for that.
Yeah, I haven't seen any complaints about it.
That's really sad that you have to say that. I mean,
I didn't see any complaints about Sauron either. So Sauron and Narsil, that's about it. I haven't seen any complaints.
Oh my god, that is so sad. Just in case you don't know, Narsil is the very famous longsword that was wielded by King Elendil during the War of the Last Alliance, and it's used by Isildur to cut the One Ring from Sauron's hand. It is the ring.
He becomes king at some point?
We know he becomes king because in the trilogy, when Sauron is defeated, that's King Elendil. And then Isildur picks up the broken sword and cuts the finger off of Sauron. And that sword was so legendary that when the Fellowship goes to Lothlorien, that sword is laid out on an altar. Yeah. And that's when Boromir touches it and drops it. Aragorn puts it back. Then later on, Elrond reforges the sword and gives it to Aragorn just to give some, it's not backstory, it's like forward story, but I would say that's the most famous sword in this, definitely.
But I was really sad because he's going to leave Muriel because she doesn't want to go. And I mean, she wants to be with him, but her place is with her people, so I get it. And then it wouldn't be her if she just ran away, so makes sense. And then, so now we go to Eregion, and the orcs take over.
Yeah, go ahead. That's your place.
Well, the orcs take over, and it's kind of cool seeing some of the elves fight. They're really cool. I love watching elves fight. Galadriel comes out. I love that she's trying to help people, trying to get them out of the city. Some of them were kids, which was nice. That was cool. Yeah. I know she was supposed to do that, but it's just really cool. Her hair is stunning. And then it seems like they're going to reach freedom. They come out of this tunnel, and then they're ambushed by a bunch of orcs.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
There's a lot of them.
But basically, she's just like, hey, let these people go. and bring me to your father because I have something that he wants, which is the rings. And well, before she says the rings, they're like, give me one reason why I should why I should let them go, kind of, and take you to him. And she goes, I have 9. I'll give you 9.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear her say that, but at that point, that's the only way she could keep the orcs from killing those elves.
They would have killed them and done horrible things to them, so I understand. And then right after that, we see a horrible, horrible scene. It was not fun to watch. I did like the acting, though, but it was brutal for me. I mean, I watched Game of Thrones, so I thought it was brutal. Okay, so I don't know how many arrows it's in Celebrimbor, but he's like bleeding out, and he's got a lot of arrows, and he's completely covered in blood and dirt. And Sauron says, "Look what you have done to yourself." And I'm just like, what he's done to himself? That's you, buddy. Because before that, you see him shoot an arrow into him, so that was fun.
I tried to count. He's got 5 or 6 arrows in him.
I don't know how he's alive, but but he's bleeding out. He's losing a lot of blood.
Yeah, and if he wasn't an elf, he'd already be dead, I bet.
Probably. I like how he says, have you ever seen orcs in combat? They're frenzy, they have blood hunger, and he wants to know where the rings are hidden, and I will end your suffering. What Celebrimbor says to him is, one used to hear the kingfishers flying to the river. It's like a pity that he silenced him. I had to look that up. I didn't know what kingfishers were. They're bright bluebirds. They're really pretty sounding, so that was cool. But sad because you're right. You don't hear anything. You don't hear nature. All you hear is like destruction and devastation and death.
I literally cannot imagine what it would be like to have built this beautiful paradise and seen it constructed. And just to hear people dying outside and it being completely torn apart.
And there's nothing he can do about it.
Nothing.
All I have done has been for you. Yours was the fire that crafted the marvels of the age. I wish to only share them with the world. And then Celebrimbor says he's going to go to the shores of the morning. And I think that he's very brave here. I mean, I understand that he's dying and he's got nothing left, but he's still sticking up for himself. He's still sticking up for, like, the fact that Sauron is evil and he's never going to be happy kind of thing,
I love this because Celebrimbor has one thing he can say. He knows he's going to die soon. And he says, as I shall be Eregion, for soon I shall go to the shores of the morning, borne hence by a wind that you can never follow. He will never, ever go to Valinor. And that is the one thing Celebrimbor had. Basically, you can kill me, you can torture me. I'm going to go to heaven, basically. It's heaven. You'll never be able to go. And the look on Sauron's face, because he knows he won't.
Yep. First, Sauron says, there are ways of keeping you alive. Must I show you my mastery of that craft as well? And Celebrimbor, he laughs. I like that he laughs. Your only craft is treachery, so pure it shall betray the very hand that forges it. And then Sauron says, your words are empty. No, sir. And then he's basically like, no, you hear me. You hear me. That's when he stands up, which I don't know how he's doing that. Calls him the shadow of Morgoth. The rings of power shall destroy you, and in the end, I foresee one alone shall prove your utter ruin. I loved that. It's like one of the best lines of the whole episode, because it's true. One ring does ruin him.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder how he knew all that.
Do you think he has, like, powers of vision?
I can just give you my personal opinion.
Go ahead.
Think that was the Valar, knowing that he's dying, since he's in the process of dying. I think the Valar gave him those words.
I believe that. That's actually really good.
To me, that's how I saw it. He's already half dead, which means he's in the process of going to the Undying Lands, or heaven, and I feel like that was the Valar speaking through him. So
I agree. Sauron stabs him with a spear. And says, he gets very emotional here, and I like it. You're wrong. I am their creator. I am their master. And then he like pushes him up on that pole or whatever.
He slides him up like a column, I think.
Yeah, I'll call him, yeah. And then Celebrimbor says, no, you are their prisoner. Sauron, Lord of the Rings. And then he dies, which I thought that was really powerful, saying Lord of the Rings. And you see a single tear go down Sauron's face. Now, a lot of people have stuff to say about that. I think he half feels bad for what he did to him, because he was a very brilliant man and very well. I mean, he went to him for his knowledge of how to make things. Like, he's a great smith, a very well-known smith, and he needed his help. And yes, when he's done using somebody, he tends to kill them. But I don't think he wanted it to end this way.
I don't think a lot of it was that Celebrimbor's actually dead. I think Sauron's mostly past that. Because, like, Sauron's convinced himself collateral damage is fine, because in the end, there's going to be order. And with that statement, he realizes, no, it's not. So everything you're doing is just evil, and you're not going to get the result that you want. So apparently he still has emotion, or he wouldn't have had a tear.
Yeah, and a lot of people say he's beyond redeemable, but I don't think so. Like, he wouldn't show certain emotions. Like I said, there's only two people he really cares about in this world, and whether it's just to control them, to use them, I think he does care still in some way. Maybe not fully, but I think he does in some way.
Yeah, in whatever way he can. Yeah.
Yeah, this is his way of showing that he cares. We called him the Hand of the King of Adar. So he's up there, and he asks if Sauron is Sauron, and Sauron's, of course, like, I have many names. And then he turns to him and asks what his name is. Whoever plays the orcs, they have really well done facial expressions. So he kind of looked like, wait, why is he asking my name? Like, okay, maybe he's not used to that or something from an elf? I don't know.
When he asked Glug his name, I was like, you're going to try to appeal to them. After that, we see Isildur and Theo.
Yeah, I was excited to see Isildur because it's been a couple episodes.
Yeah, so...
And he's staring at the dagger that he was stabbed with, which I'm like, you really need to get over this girl.
Oh, man. Talk about, like, a very quick, whatever it is, very love at first sight, I guess.
Seems like it for both of them, ish, I guess.
Yeah.
But I do like the scene between him and Theo, because Theo wanted to ask him how he lives with, the situation with what happened to his mom. Like, his mom died to save him, sort of, that kind of thing. And, like, how do you carry it? Because his mom is dead and he's grieving his mother. And he said he carries it poorly, and he didn't realize until he came here, which is interesting. Because there's grander things than him. I felt it was very mature, but also what he does after that's not very mature. So he's kind of a mixed bag of things, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's still a theory that Theo is half elf, and that's why his hair stays long and you never see his ears.
He might be Arondir's son.
Never know. It would be interesting. So Eastrid shows up, and my notes say the rando chick is back. Yay. So she comes back to make googly eyes at Isildur, and this is just... So she tells him her fiance is building a home with her, and she thought it was love, but now when she looks at her fiance, she feels ill. And he even does something really nice and romantic. Her fiance put the cornerstone in the house and said, "May our love last as long as this stone." And that's what made her feel sick. So she leaves and comes and finds Isildur. And he's basically like, "Why are you telling me this?" And they make out. And he asked her to come to Numenor.
That was so fast. I was like, you barely know this girl, and you want to bring her to Numenor to meet your dad? No.
Yeah, man. It's like, she stabbed you. Y'all had a couple moments where you stared at each other. And now you want to take her away from her fiance who's currently building a home. So I'm not really sure the purpose of that, but
It's just love, I guess. A
I
weird love.
guess.
Hey, we get to see Kevin, which, yay.
As soon as I saw him, I was just like, God, dog,
Well,
really?
there's a couple episodes where he didn't have any speaking. We just saw him, but he didn't speak. So it's kind of, I didn't miss him at all, but I was like, oh, okay, we get to see him. But then the second he started talking, I was like, yeah, bye.
Yeah, I wondered why the hell he was there. I was like, why is he there? And
apparently there's an agreement between the queen and
yeah,
them. So
because they need supplies. So Queen Muriel was going to bring them food and stuff. And Kevin shows up and Theo gets to meet him. Yay. And Isildur is like, hey, Kevin. And like for just a moment, Kevin has to hold in his emotion. He becomes a decent person for about a half a second and then it's gone. He pushes it down.
he did seem kind of happy to see him, though, when he saw him.
He did.
Which was odd.
He did. I think there's that tiny little bit of him that is, not corrupted, but the corrupted part is like way more because he's like, who found you? And Isildur's like, Beric, the horse. And he points at the horse. And then Isildur wants to take Eastrid to Numenor, and Kevin says, no passage to low men. So then, obviously, Kevin threatens Beric, says he's going to kill him and feed him to people. I was like, God, could he get any worse?
He just has no care in the world. But, like, I couldn't get over the fact that Isildur was like, you have room for one more, and grabs for her hand. Like, that's just in front of everybody.
In front of her fiance.
Sorry, I just had to say that because I was like, I can't believe he did that. I was shocked.
Her fiance's right there.
I know. That's why I was shocked. Sorry, but yeah, the fact that Kevin threatened the horse pissed me off. I have that written in how much of a dick he is.
He just sucks. He just sucks to no end. And you know the ironic thing? We see people get corrupted and rude and mean. He doesn't have a ring of power. He's just an asshole. I mean, really. Kevin, thanks. You just suck.
People think he's going to end up getting a ring, or people also think he might be the Witch King. I don't think he's the Witch King.
Nah, he's not cool enough to be the Witch King, but I still stand by he might be the mouth of Sauron, because the dude talks some BS. It would not shock me.
Sauron would like him.
Oh, yeah, because he wouldn't have to do anything. The guy's already evil.
He says Glargir is no longer a colony of Numenor, but a fortress for its soldiers, which I was like, the audacity. Anyone wishing to remain here will deliver timber from the surrounding forests. So what does that mean? What's that going to do when they have to get wood from the forest?
That's going to be bad. Really, really bad.
I feel like that's going to be a big part of season 3. Do you think that's going to be a big part of season 3?
Yes, I think that's the whole reason that we saw the Ents and know how upset they are about the trees that have already been taken. Because why would he keep saying timber? Yeah.
They're just trees. They're just trees, according to him.
That's what he
Good
says.
luck.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's telling them in the colony to cut the trees. So guess who's going to get in trouble? Them.
Yep.
And they won't know that they're doing something terribly wrong. So that's definitely going to be a big thing in next season.
I yelled at my screen. I said, Arondir just made a deal with the Ents. Winter Bloom is going to come and smack some people, I swear.
Good. I hope she does. Yeah. I really do. I hope the Ents kick some ass. After that, Galadriel is brought to Adar. And Adar is spread out. He's not facing us. He looks like a supplicant. It looks like how in movies, when you see somebody go into a church and fully bow and spread their hands out in front of a cross, that's what Adar looks like he's doing. And I knew there was a reason he was faced away. But do you want to talk about how he looks? Because I know you like Adar.
Oh yeah, he looks great. I mean, because she's telling him that Galadriel's like, "Hey, let's destroy Sauron together," and he's like, "Well, how are you going to do that without your ring?" And you show his hand, and his hand is like perfectly normal, and you're like, "Wait, what?" And then he turns around, and he looks amazing. He looks gorgeous. He looks like an elf. Like he just looks like how he's supposed to look, Which I had no issue with how Adar looked as a twisted dark elf. I really didn't mind how he looked. He looked good there too, but he looks really nice with that, the way he was. And he says it would seem even wounds have endured an age can sometimes yet be healed. And I like that. That line is good.
It's very good. So Adar gets Nenya in the previous episode. And when he put Nenya on, he is turned back into his old form of just elf, not twisted elf. And being in that headspace has given Adar just insane.
Clarity.
Yes, he's gotten insane clarity. And he wants peace. That's all he wants. And he's even talking different. Galadriel is different towards him. Like they make a connection because it's elf to elf. They don't have that. Basically, his trauma barrier isn't there anymore for a bit. And this is just going to itch at my brain for so long. She's shocked to see him. And he says, when I last looked like this, I was known by another name. A meaningless name. A name I was given. Because Galadriel's like, what name? What name? And I'm like, come on. No, we don't get the name. I doubt it was a meaningless name. I think he's somebody that, I don't know. He's somebody that's referenced somewhere. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think he's a canon character, but we just don't know which one because they don't have the rights to everything. So we probably will never know, but I think Galadriel will want to know. I think I don't know, they'll maybe hint at it more next season.
Or hell, we might get a flashback if we're lucky.
Yeah.
Well, so he gives the ring back to Galadriel, says he'll recall his children back to Mordor, and he will never make war on Middle-earth again. So, yet
He
again,
just wants peace.
Yeah, he just wants peace. So, yet again, we have almost what we want. And, of course, we can't have nice things. Galadriel's honest with him, though. She tells him, I have slain more of your children than any elf alive. And he
forgives her, though.
And he says, I forgive you, which I thought was really touching.
Character development.
He's got great character development.
But I like when he gives her the ring, his face turns back to how he looks.
I was surprised by that, actually.
I don't know why that does that, but...
Seems to be able to heal other people, but I guess what was done to him was so bad, it can't heal it unless he has the ring on, I guess.
I like that he says no more flames, no more darkness.
Yeah, because this is his end. His end was done really well. He tells her, let this ring heal the rift between Elf and Uruk, a lasting peace in Middle-earth. And right after that, the orcs return, and they have Glug, and he is being carried in because he is injured. So they tell Adar that Sauron tried to make Glug betray him, but he wouldn't. And Adar's like upset because that's like his really close child. And then Glug stabs him. I was like, damn.
Yeah, he told them it's too late.
Damn.
And then they all kind of stab him. And so that makes me wonder, what did Sauron say to him? And that's why I feel like this was a cut scene, because it kind of looked like they were looking for Sauron, but not to kill him. Like they were searching for him because they wanted to join him. Why would they want to do that? What exactly did Adar do to them that was so horrible that they couldn't, it wasn't something over time? Because I don't think they would just turn on him. I think that they would just turn away. But I also think Sauron said something to them. I don't know what it is, but I wish I did know.
Yeah, it's really frustrating because that orc is insanely close to Adar. It doesn't make sense that just by asking him his name and a brief conversation, he gets all the orcs on his side and they repeatedly stab Adar over and over and over again. I agree. There had to be a cutscene. Had to be. Sauron's there. He looks great, by the way.
He looks amazing.
The orc stabbing Adar is exactly like how they stabbed Sauron. So this is Sauron's revenge. And then poor Adar, he says, "My children." And then Sauron says, "They are not your children anymore."
And they call him Lord Sauron. Hail, Lord Sauron. Basically, he tells them to raise Eregion, leave no elf alive, but he wants their leaders.
I was surprised because Sauron sees Nenya on Galadriel's hand, and I was like, why? Why would you keep that thing on? Why did you not hide the ring as soon as you saw Sauron? That's my question over and over again. Like,
I don't think she thought about it. I mean, maybe.
well, that's the one thing he's after, so you would think she would hide it, but he tells Galadriel he wishes to heal all Middle-earth. That's what he thinks. That's what he thinks he's doing.
Yeah, he also wishes to not harm her, and I believe that he doesn't want to harm her, too.
No, she's the only one that's gotten an offer more than once. So if people don't think that that's a big deal, that's insane.
They show the other elves being taken into the city. So like Ilgadaddy and Elrond and Arondir, which by the way is okay for some reason.
That doesn't make any sense either.
But they were very emotional over the statue being knocked down, and I felt for them. I really did.
Yeah, that was really sad. They show Gilgadad, and he turns his ring so that the stone is in his like palm, so it looks like just a ring. I put in my notes, "Swallow the damn ring, Gilgadad. Just swallow it." Elrond is begging for the records to be saved. He's saying that's like Celebrimbor's complete history of everything he's created. Elrond is so upset. Like, he's basically saying, "Take my life, just don't burn our history." It's so sad. And then they make him watch the scrolls burn, and he just looks so defeated. And then we go back to Galadriel.
They're fighting.
Yeah.
They're really fighting. By the way, they did their own stunts. There is a video on TikTok of them behind the scenes, and Charlie and her do their own stunts, which I think is cool. I would expect that in a fantasy show anyway, for them to do their own stunts. That's what I want. Not all actors do that, but that's what I would prefer. And if they're going to really focus on this, then yes, they need to, like, if Galadriel is fighting, I want the actress to know how to fight. That's all. I like what he says to her. At one point, he says to her, "To find the light, we must first touch the darkness." And I'm like, yeah, yes, let's do that.
Well, this scene it's
cool.
And this is just Galadriel and Sauron. There's no one else, which I think is good. And they do fight really, really well, and it's very impressive.
He turns himself into many different things, though. So the first one is Halbrand, which I was like, "You dick." Like, yeah. I love you, but that really made me mad. I was like, "What are you doing?" Because that's going to make her emotional, you know, and that's going to make me emotional because I love Halbrand, and even I still love Sauron. I don't care, but like, you know, it's just sad, you know, that he did that. And I like that he said, "Fighting at your side, I felt if I could just hold on to that feeling." And I'm just like, you are really trying to emotionally manipulate her again. And then he goes behind a pillar and comes back out as Galadriel.
I thought that he becomes Halbrand for sympathy, which worked. Celebrimbor also sympathy. Then he becomes her to be like, "Hey, you were dark once. Look at yourself."
And then they fall down and he says, "I see you. I know your mind. The door is still open." And she tells him, "No, it's shut." she cuts his face, which I thought was cool.
He was definitely shocked. I was like, if you cut him and he immediately heals, is there even any point in fighting him? But, I mean, I guess you gotta do what you gotta do.
He knocks her to broken ruin part of the whatever this building used to be. He's got like the crown faced to her chest and sticks it in her and says, I would have placed a crown upon your head. I would never have rested until all Middle Earth had been brought to its knees to worship the light of its queen.
And there it is.
I don't like that he stabs her, but I know why it needed to happen. I know why this whole scene needed to happen. I know why they needed to see each other. I liked the fight scene, and this line killed me. This line really killed me because I firmly believe he loves her. I know a lot of people don't think so, but I do. Whether it's like, I want to control you, I love the idea of you because she's very strong. She's very talented. He wants that. He needs that. He needs her. He wants to rule with her. There's nobody else that he feels like this about. So I think he's in love with her.
Okay, I'll just put this out there. What's the difference between this and Kylo Ren trying to get Rey to join him?
There's none.
Okay. Same thing. Same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, almost exact. Yeah, he's dark and he's not redeemable, but that's not all he is. He's not just dark and irredeemable. I mean, hell, he tells her previously that he was going to give up, and then, like, basically she inspired him. I mean, he's had feelings for her for quite some time.
And I believe him on that. I believe he wanted to give up. Because Sauron wasn't always evil. And just because he is evil doesn't mean he doesn't love, like his own way of love, like we've said before, his own way of caring.
Okay, here's my question for you. He's going to be completely evil in the next season. He will not have any of the love, care, no tear. How's that going to make you feel?
I want him to be worse. So, but it's gonna be sad because I didn't really get more scenes with him. But
you want him to be worse? You wanted to just be like the devil?
Well, yeah, I like evil.
Okay, I thought you would be sad because probably his more human qualities.
I will miss his human qualities. I will. Like I said, Halbrand was a surprise to me. I really loved him. I loved him as Anatar, except for the end. I didn't like what he did to Celebrimbor. So basically, Sauron is trying to mind control Galadriel to give him the rings, right?
Yep.
To give her ring, actually. Because he already picked up the bag of rings that she had of the men. She's like, you wish to heal Middle Earth. She takes off the ring and pretends to give it to him, then closes her fist and says, heal yourself, and then jumps. So right after that, that's when Glug's like, hey, the dwarves are here. We need to leave because we can't handle them. And I'm thinking he wanted to kill him because, so maybe he's pissed off because he didn't want her to die. Or he didn't want her to leave. I don't know.
Yeah, like he's pissed off about that, so he takes it out on the first person that annoys him. That makes sense.
Somebody said on Threads, don't mess with somebody that's in an emotional turmoil.
True. I mean, that is true. It was probably not a good time to be like, hey, let me bother you about this. And by the way, there's dwarves.
Follow your favorite podcasters on all social media at Southern Mother of Dragons and at the Princess of Dragonstone.
She's not dead, obviously.
Yeah.
And we see Gil-galad, who we see so much of him in this episode, and he was great in every scene. I gotta give him credit. He was wonderful. And he says, these are not merely wounds of the body. Her very immortal spirit is being drawn into the shadow realm, which is a parallel of when the Witch King of Angmar stabs Frodo at Weathertop. And the wound even looks similar. It's very similar situation. The wound looks similar. And you know it's going to take a lot to heal her. And then Elrond is there. And he's debating it. And I'm like sitting there thinking, Elrond, she's dying. She's going to go into the unseen world. Can you please put the ring on, Elrond? Please? Please? Stop thinking. Mm-hmm. He's very introspective, which is fine. But that was basically me. I was like, just put it on. Just put on the ring.
It was good character development for him to put on the ring, though. I was very happy. I was like, this is very Elrond right here.
Yep.
Well, that and when I mean, like, movie Elrond.
Yep. And that was him understanding that the 3 elven rings that weren't touched by Sauron are going to be required to fight. So I thought that was cool. You're right. Very good character development. After that, we go to see the stores, and first scene, I see Gandalf's staff because I know what it looks like. I saw it in the pile, and I'm just like, you know that meme with Leonardo DiCaprio where he's sitting in the chair pointing at the TV?
Yeah.
That was me.
Well, the fact that Nori just tossed it on the ground, I was like, oh, no.
I was like, don't break it. It's important. So
she didn't know.
Andrea loves this, so I'll just give y'all a little humor. Most people know that I got attacked by Tolkien rude dudes. And I told her that when we find out it's Gandalf, I was going to reply to every mean comment in all caps. And I did. I wrote, "The stranger is Gandalf, ha ha ha," and I put a wizard emoji. It took me an hour about to go through, and I only did that with the mean comments, and I'm that petty, and it was incredibly enjoyable. That's my side note.
There's a lot of people that didn't believe, like the loud minority, but it seems like it's a lot of people. But
this show is not doing those huge twists. Like, Halbrand was Sauron. This is Gandalf. The other dude, that's Saruman. They're going to make sure that we have as many familiar characters as possible. That's what they paid $250 million for. That's why Gandalf's staff looks like the staff in the trilogy. They obviously copyright. They can't make it too similar. But like even the Balrog looked very similar to the one of Peter Jackson. They do want a connection because that's probably the most beloved trilogy that's ever been made other than Star Wars. Honestly. So, you don't pay $250 million to have a blue wizard. Okay, that's it. I'm off my soapbox. I'm sorry.
Basically, Nori tells Poppy they should fix what happened here. I don't know exactly what happened to her family. I'm just going to assume that they're gone, like gone.
I didn't know her family was gone.
I'm kind of curious what happened to them. But she said that she was told by Mr. Burroughs that some things can't be fixed. Some things lost are lost forever. No matter how hard we fight, how much it hurts, or how much our hearts yearn. This show does a really good job of this. When somebody is giving like a big speech, they show other scenes. Like they show Eastrid holding hands with her betrothed, which I found out his name is Hagen.
That's interesting. Hagen is like a name used a lot in like the Viking books I read.
And then they show Muriel in cuffs, which killed me to see, but she looked stunning. And then they show Elendil, like, you know, the scene that he saw in the Palantir. He's on his horse and he's, you know, getting away. And then in the background, you see Numenor on fire, which is crazy.
I mean, you have to think he's leaving his daughter and the love of his life and any person he's ever known, basically. So we find out that he does have another son, and we assume that's probably where he's going. But damn, that would be so hard.
Poppy says we just have to accept it. What's broke is broke, and we can't fix it. And I'm like, God dang it.
That was really well done, like you said, because she's talking and you see all these different things and they all have something in common. It's somebody realizing you have to accept things sometimes. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. It's the dwarves looking at the empty throne because King Durin is dead.
Yeah, they're mourning.
Yeah, they're mourning. Elrond is seeing Eregion fall completely.
Yes.
You have Theo, who's going through mourning, and also the drama now with Kevin. Isildur has to leave the random chick, and he looks sad. But he does have his horse, which
At least he's got Barrack. He can't leave Barrack.
Hell, I care way more about Barrack than I do that girl. You remember how people complained about Barrack? Ridiculous. Muriel in handcuffs. Elendil leaves Numenor, and then you see Sauron with Feanor's hammer. And I think, Andrea, we're meant to pick up that Sauron holding Celebrimbor's hammer, and I think that is some sadness and regret. Do you agree?
Yes.
Because why the hell else would he have that hammer?
Well, when she says build anew, I'm like, well, he already built all the rings, so why would he be holding that? It has to be sentimental.
Yeah, because everyone else is watching something sad happen. So
Yeah.
people probably wouldn't agree with us. But why would he be holding Celebrimbor's hammer, that's Feanor's hammer, if he didn't have some sort of regret or feeling?
There's nothing for him to build anew. He's got an army, he's got the rings, he just needs to continue his journey of, like, turning people bad.
The stores again.
So they're all leaving, right? They're all gonna travel, because this is the first time that they've been able to do that. They call him Grand Elf. And he doesn't understand why they're calling him Grand Elf, which I'm like, Gandalf!
Poppy even says, she's like, they've never seen an elf, so you're just a grand elf. And he's just like, oh, okay, so he's called Grand Elf twice. And he walks, and he stumbles on something. I wonder what it is. His staff!
Which he was so excited to see. He was like, yes, this is mine. And when he's walking in the desert or whatever after that, it's so much Gandalf vibes. This guy is really good.
I will say this. I have characters that I love very much. Gandalf is one of those. And to have somebody be playing a young Gandalf and me really enjoy it and think it's well done, I really do think he needs credit for that. And God knows he did a lot of this with very few words, which I have a new appreciation for acting without words because Andrea has pointed it out. And it's things I didn't used to notice. But, like, there's a lot of times you have to act way more if you don't have words. And he has done that, I think, fantastically. I don't know the actor's name, but he makes a perfect Gandalf. I completely agree with you.
And I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on this podcast, but the reason why I say that, given a great example, is in King's Landing, Jon Snow is fighting with his people, right? He doesn't say anything that entire scene. That entire scene is silent. But his main focus is the fact that his own freaking people are killing people. It's just all the emotions, you know what I mean? Like, it's just very good acting, and that is why I like silent acting.
Kit did a very good job with what he had to work with. So Gandalf has his staff, and he goes to see Tom. Yay!
I loved seeing him. He was so good in that scene.
Yeah, I put a little heart, because I was so happy to see Tom. And you were right, Andrea. You asked, you were like, so do you think he's meant to pick friendship over power? Do you think it's a test? And I didn't think so, but you were right. It was a test. It was a test.
Yeah.
Oh, and this made me so happy. Okay, so he says to Tom, he says, Gandalf, that's what they're going to call me, isn't it? I love that so much because in the trilogy, when Gandalf returns as Gandalf the White, Aragorn says Gandalf, Gimli says Gandalf, and he pauses and he says, Gandalf, yes, that's what they used to call me, Gandalf the Grey. This is a complete parallel on purpose to remind you of that scene, and people can complain, but I am here for it. I loved it.
Also, the people that complain that Tom Bombadil is not very whimsical, you know, it's a very interesting test, and I felt it was a whimsical test. And then I like when he says, a wizard does not find his staff, the staff finds him, just like his name. And they sit down and sing. So people can shut up about Tom Bombadil not being whimsical. He is.
We need people to take several seats, and it's not y'all that are listening to us. We're talking.
Oh, sorry, no.
No, I feel like I never explained that. We love y'all. Thank you for being here. Please follow us on social media. But it's because me and Andrea have gotten a lot of negative comments for just basic statements. I have gotten a lot on TikTok. Andrea's gotten a lot on Threads, and you'd be surprised how cruel people have been. If I have a theory, like me saying it's Gandalf, they attacked me. And Andrea pointing out that Sauron is not just pure evil, that he's got layers and he's a complicated character. She caught hell for that. Pure hell.
Yep.
So, which, again, we're from the Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, A Song of Ice and Fire fandom. That's our main fandom. And we're telling you that we were surprised.
I didn't expect that.
Neither did I. But anyway, we were both right, so haha.
Now we're seeing the dwarves. Durin gets told about how the elves moved. Eregion has fallen. The elves are moving to up somewhere up north. And then he's like, okay, so he says to send, like, basically let Elrond know that if he needs more aid, we can send more aid. And then Dee says, like, no, we've got our own problems. And I'm like, well, yeah, the Balrog, which they never mention.
Yeah, apparently he's taking he's taking a nap.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the Balrog's taking a nap. He wore himself out, Andrea, obviously.
I mean, I get that the cave is, like, had a cave-in, kind of, but it wasn't that much of a cave-in.
No.
But anyway, if somebody wears a ring going into that cave, they're going to try to get more mithril. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
Okay. So she says the Lords of the Blue Mountains have paid the King Durin. She basically said that he has caused, like, something of a tangle because of this. So, like, the Lords of the Blue Mountains paid him vast tributes they are wanting to collect. And then it's also said that rumors are flying that Durin isn't his father's preferred heir. And I'm like, what?
Since when?
So, like, Rhaenyra, right? Rhaenyra Targaryen, when King Viserys died, they didn't consider her the preferred heir because Durin's a man, but I'm just saying.
It doesn't make any sense because we've never heard of Durin's brother. Here's my problem, Andrea. This is my big problem. King Durin is King Durin. Like, the heir is also called Durin. Okay, his brother's name's not Durin, so how can he contest anything? Prince Durin is obviously the heir because his name is Durin. I mean, Durin to the dwarves is like Aegon to the Targaryens.
That, and apparently there's other lords that are going to try to claim it too, and I'm like, what?
That makes absolutely no sense at all. So the other dwarves that have their own place are going to contest Prince Durin, who's been called Prince Durin for however long. That made no sense at all. That was weird.
It came out of nowhere, and I saw a post saying, so we're back to Game of Thrones. I'm like, basically.
Look, I don't mind that a lot of scenes parallel Game of Thrones. I don't. If I minded that, I couldn't enjoy Song of Ice and Fire because everybody knows that George R.R. Martin was greatly inspired by J.R.R. Tolkien. So this show being, somewhat inspired by scenes in Game of Thrones makes sense. I don't mind that, but I don't need a dance of dwarves.
I was like, this is going to be a dance of dragons, but with dwarves.
Ladies and gentlemen, the dance of dwarves. I can't. And
that's going to be a lot of season 3, I think.
Then there's going to be Balrog seeds that are going to come and try to treat with the Balrog. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm sorry.
I do have to say, Durin looks at the rings, and I'm like, why are you looking at the rings? Don't put one on. Don't put one on. Just leave him alone. Don't touch him.
Well, we know for a fact that the Balrog isn't gone forever because the Balrog is named Durin's Bane. That's its name. So, obviously, it's going to be a Bane. and a pain.
Yeah.
After that, we see Galadriel and Gilgadaddy, who again looks great. Great acting. There's some people that don't like Gilgadad, and I'm like, how can you not? How can you not like him?
I love Benjamin Walker. I think he's a great actor, and his facial reactions to things, like especially when they set fire to when the orcs set fire to the scrolls, he says, "You traitorous cowards!" Like his emotion was very raw there, so I don't get it, but whatever. I'm gonna love him.
Well, I think he did great. She wakes up and he says, "Rest. We are safe here," which parallels Frodo waking up and seeing Gandalf. And where are they when that happens? They're at
Rivendell.
Yes, exactly. They're at Rivendell. And so Galadriel is like, where is this place? And he says, a sanctuary protected by the elven rings.
Mm-hmm.
That's Rivendell.
Yeah, and I thought it looked beautiful. Probably one of my favorite aesthetically pleasing places to look at. And Arondir's here too, which I loved. I love how he's like so caring about these elves that he barely knows. It's just really cool.
Yeah, I kind of hope they give him. Well, no, I like that he's a woodland elf and he looks different, but I really like the fact that they fully embraced him, and I hope he stays connected with these elves because he fits in with them. He's really loyal. I love elves, and I just like them all to get along.
Well, and look at the way when he sees her setting up, Galadriel setting up and stuff, and he's like, Commander, like he just runs over to her and just touches her. It's just so sweet.
Sauron's armies are roving across Eregion. All Middle-earth is within his reach now, even Lindon.
Yes. So basically, they're either going to bring the fight to Sauron, which I don't think I mean, I guess it could be a good idea, but how are they going to do that? Or prepare, like stay back, pull back, and prepare defenses.
I thought they were going to say pull back and prepare defenses because there's barely any elves.
Well, maybe they'll talk to the woodland elves, or I mean, I don't think they can trust the dwarves right now again because it doesn't sound like they're going to be able to send any help.
True. So if I had to guess, I would say what we're looking at is the beginning, or actually this is right before the alliance of elves and men.
Yeah, I was going to say men too. They need to get Numenor involved here.
It's going to be the people that flee Numenor and the people that are in the colony, and they're going to have to work together to fight Sauron because he's got a huge orc army. Huge.
It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. Did you notice the dog?
Yeah, the random dog.
It was really pretty. I made a note and it says, elves have really pretty dogs.
They do.
I mean, if you thought of an elf having a dog, wouldn't it look like that?
Yes.
I don't know what kind of dog it is. It kind of looks like a whippet, but it has long hair. I'm just saying, it looked like an elf dog, and I immediately noticed it. I was like, that's fantastic. There's elvish dogs. I would like one, please. But anyway, that was just random. All the elves, though, their costumes were great. I really liked them.
Yeah, and whatever Galadriel was wearing, like some kind of white slip-looking thing, she looked really pretty. She says, this is what we should tell them, like, basically, like, remember the Council of Celebrimbor, who was, like, the greatest smith, ever. Remind them that it's not strength that overcomes darkness, but light. The sun yet shines, and I really liked that line.
Yeah.
They talk about light and darkness a lot.
They do, and I think that's a really great quote, and I'm glad he was mentioned, at the end. This was a very good episode. It was good.
Very emotional.
Yeah.
And all all the swords and the yelling, like they're all ready to go, basically.
Oh yeah, Gilgadad hypes up the elves completely. They're all like, yeah, yeah. It was impressive. Come on, I would have screamed too. I mean, the reason why I like the costume so much is because it cuts to different groups of elves and they're wearing different colors. Like, you can tell that they went through the trouble of making sure that, you know, it doesn't just look like a couple people. Like, I don't know. It just the setup of it was really neat. I liked it a lot. It was a pretty scene. I'll be honest with you. There were a few things that were confusing. I think it's like what you said, cutscenes, but I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I give it a 9. Like I said, the cutscenes I was not a fan of, but I still like it, so I'm going to give it a 9.
I was completely engaged with it the entire time. My mind didn't drift or anything like that, so I think it was a good episode.
My Lord and Savior is still Lord and Savioring
with a hammer.
Yeah, I mean, yes, he just murdered somebody, but you know, I'm very sad about that. I didn't want that to happen, but I knew it was going to happen, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
Can't change it. But it was still a powerful scene, and they both deserve an award for that scene.
I totally agree, and hopefully that happens. I did want to mention, everyone, obviously the Rings of Power is now over. The podcast is not over. We're very excited because the next 3 episodes, and it will still be on Monday, we are going to give you spooky content. So we're very, very, very excited about that because Andrea and I both love Halloween.
Yes, we do.
So we'll be talking about fandoms and spooky things in fandoms, and we'll let you know more information when we decide what we're going to talk about, because we have a lot of ideas.
We do.
Thank y'all so much for listening, and we will catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
As always, it's Amanda here to say thank you to all of our listeners and to ask that if you like this week's episode, leave us an honest rating. And if you'd like to continue the discussion, please feel free to comment on our post over at our Girls Nerd Out podcast account on Instagram. If you're interested in buying any of our merch to support the podcast and so that we can continue to release weekly episodes, then check it out over at girlsnerdoutpodcast.com. Our podcast logo was designed by Chairman Bilal over on Fiverr. Our podcast merch was put together by me, myself, and I at Southern Mother of Dragons on all social media. If you're interested in my personal merch, check it out at southernmotherofdragons.com, and the designs for that merch were put together by Ryuchi Studios on Etsy after an in-depth back and forth discussion with me to find the perfect merch for me and my loyal supporters. The music played while I tell you about all the ways you can support us and the production of the podcast is Kawaii Girl by Pumpkin Pie. Thanks for listening.
Hey, this is Andrea.
And this is Amanda.
And you just listened to
Girls Nerd Out.